Hello, welcome back to the podcast. And I'm officially 30 years old when you're listening to this. It is actually 2 days before my birthday when I'm recording this, so I'm cheating a little bit. But thank you for all of the birthday messages that I have already had so far because I've really been dragging out this birthday all month long. I feel like it's after years of not being able to celebrate and struggling with my health in my early 20s. I hated birthdays and now I'm like, I'm better and I want to celebrate and I want to do all the things. So people have already been sending messages, so thank you so much. And I'm sure I've had some over the weekend, so I really appreciate it. I've hopefully had a really good weekend with the plans that I have. So on my birthday, the 20th, I'm going to York with Luke, and we're going to go to a lovely wild swimming spot nearby. And I just cannot wait. The weather's been gorgeous as well this week, and I'm just on a high at the moment. And I've been looking forward to doing this episode. I've had a few of my friends who do podcasts post episodes like this, so I have been looking forward to it. But then when I sat down to actually plan it, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to say? I thought 30 things would be so difficult to think of, but they actually just flew out of me. And I could have gone on for a million more. And some people do ones, really meaningful ones, like or funny ones, like a cup of tea fixes everything, which is true, but I want mine to be health focused and health related so that you can enjoy this episode, but also benefit from my wisdom, my experience. And I thought I knew everything about health when I graduated from college in 2017. That has definitely not been the case. And I've continued to learn as we do through personal experience, mistakes, working with clients. My clients teach me a lot that might not be something that works in a clinical study, but in reality, it either helps or doesn't help. So, yeah, working with my lovely clients has been a really big part of my journey, and just the research that's ever expanding and coming out. Even things like gut health and nervous system weren't really spoken about in too much detail a few years ago, and it just seemed to have exploded over the past few years. We are still far from knowing everything that we need to about the human body, but with this industry, there's always new things coming out. So I always have to stay on top of things. So this is just the 30 things that I've learned and I know to be true right now at 30 years of age. And these aren't in any order. They are just as they came to me. They're kind of in some groups because one thing just led to another. And I do recommend taking notes because there's some good nuggets of wisdom in here. So I really hope you enjoy. Thank you again for supporting the show, and your lovely messages mean the world to me. And who knows, we'll be doing this again in another 30 years. We'll have 60 things at 60. Let's see if the podcast can survive that long. So, number one, women are not small men. This impacts my life in so many ways. As women, we need to learn to understand and honor our hormone cycles and know that we are on a 28-day average cycle, not a 24-hour cycle like men are. We can do a lot of the same things as men, but we don't need to. And men thrive on a routine, a schedule. They can do the same thing every day. They can eat the same food, work out in the same way, and thrive. Whereas women, we can feel different one day to the next, but especially one week to the next with our hormone fluctuations. So we need to understand that these studies in health, a lot of them have been done on men, and we're not small men. We are a completely different gender. Our brains are completely different. We are wired in a different way, and we thrive by listening to our body and using our hormones for our benefit and working with them as like our superpowers instead of having our hormones work against us. If you're on the birth control pill or any synthetic hormones, you're not actually experiencing these lovely fluctuations. I'm not a fan of the birth control pill. If it's working for you right now, that's great, but I've just not seen any good long-term outcomes of that with the clients that I'm working with. But it might be a little bit biased because the people I'm working with have hormone imbalances. There might be a million people out there who are doing absolutely great, never have an issue, but I'm seeing the group that are struggling. So that is my number one, and it influences my life in terms of health and workouts and how I approach diet, but also my business and work. I've been really learning more about feminine energy and our female physiology and how our nervous systems are just wired completely differently. And yeah, we're not meant to be doing the exact same work schedule as men. And when we actually respect that and we tap into our feminine nature as much as possible, we can actually be more successful and yeah, more happy and healthy. Number 2, our period is our monthly report card. Back when I was 17 and initially lost my period due to dieting, over-exercising, I was actually pretty happy that I lost my period. It was the other symptoms that were stressing me out, my skin and my hair falling out. I could have gone on without a period and not been bothered. It was my mum who knew that that was not a healthy sign after having years of regular cycles, never struggled with period pain, to going without. She knew something was up. She didn't know the full impacts of the menstrual cycle, and having a baby at that time wasn't on the cards. It wasn't something that I was interested in. So not having a period was very convenient to me. But now I know that having a regular healthy menstrual cycle is not only a sign of health, but it's a creator of health. And the bleed that you have this month can tell you a lot about the state of your health, how well you've been taking care of yourself, how stressed you've been. Things like travel, illness can throw it off, stress can definitely throw it off. And it's not just all about the period. The main star of the show when it comes to the cycle is actually ovulation. So we can have a bleed every month, but it not be a healthy cycle because we didn't ovulate. But if we focus on ovulation and having healthy ovulation every month, then we will either have a period that follows or we will fall pregnant. And fertility, even if you don't want ever to have kids, is still super important. The thing is with periods though, is that it can be influenced by not only what you do this month, but it can be on a bit of a delay. So it can be something 2 to 3 months back. I have some clients when we start working together and they're eating healthier than ever, they're doing their supplements, they're doing their stress routines, and then out of the blue, they have the worst period of their life. And they're really confused because they are like, what's happening? Am I doing something wrong? But actually what's happening is something that influenced the cycle 2 to 3 months ago, even before we started working together. And I'll ask them, what happened back in March? And they were like, oh yeah, I went on a girls' trip to Mexico, got really bad food poisoning, got really drunk, had really bad jet lag afterwards, and then got sick. And I'm like, yeah, maybe that was what was influencing your cycle this time and made it very crampy, very heavy. So listen to your period, or look at your period, get intimate with your body and really see what's going on instead of just like thinking it's disgusting or something that should be hidden or embarrassed about. If your period blood is very clotty or heavy, or it's really dark brown blood, if you're spotting, if you have a lot of symptoms before the bleed, that can actually tell you a lot. And then you'll find as you get healthier over time, because of that delay, it might take an extra 3 months or so to have a real effect. But the healthier your period gets, the more regular your cycle is, the more manageable and enjoyable it is, you'll know that your body is really healing at that point. Number 3, similar, but symptoms in general are your body's way of communicating with you. And if you suppress them or you ignore them, they will likely come back with a vengeance down the line or start to affect your other body systems. Classic example is something like acne, and we first try all the topical things, we cover it up with makeup, we go on medications like antibiotics or Roaccutane to suppress it, and it might help, it might reduce it, it might completely clear it for a few years. But then either the acne is going to come back, or you're going to start to develop digestive issues or mood issues, joint pain, because you didn't address that initial trigger. If the underlying driver of the acne to begin with was a gut infection or a food sensitivity or a deficiency of a nutrient, that's still going to be there if you haven't fixed it. And because our body speaks to us through symptoms, it doesn't communicate in English, in words. It communicates by showing you these little signs and symptoms that something's off. And it can start as a whisper, just a little nudge, a little bit of an energy crash in the afternoon, a little bit of a skin congestion or redness or bloating after eating. And if we don't do anything about it, it will start to get louder and louder and more obvious before it starts screaming at you. And that can be these big diagnoses that people have decades later. But they don't just happen out of the blue. They have been brewing under the surface for a long time, and then people think they just happen randomly. We all of a sudden get diagnosed with cancer or have a heart attack, but that's not the case at all. Those people very likely had issues with their energy or their blood sugar or the cholesterol levels or something like that years earlier, and it just either went ignored, suppressed, or they honestly just didn't know what to look for. They thought these symptoms were normal. They're definitely not. Number 4 is that the body keeps the score. There's actually a book with the same title if you want to learn more about this, but this is the fact that unresolved trauma, unexpressed emotions or suppressed emotions can live within us and create disease in the body. It can be a formal known disease like dementia, cancer, etc., but it could just be dis-ease, some sort of imbalance in the body, anxiety, chronic skin issues, chronic pain. And I've just really come to learn that a lot of people, most people struggle with some sort of trauma. We've all had things happen to us, and we can't downplay what we've been through just because someone else seems to have had it worse. It's all just about how it affected you personally as a child. And it's just really shown time and time again to have a similar pattern with clients. And this comes down to things like Chinese medicine, even acknowledging this and pointing this out, that certain organs can have a connection to symptoms. For example, the stomach can be linked to worry. This might also tie into the chakra system. The stomach and digestive area is the solar plexus chakra, and it can be linked to feelings of lack of safety or constant worry, constant anxiety. The reproductive issues and fertility issues and menstrual issues located in the sacral chakra or the lower pelvic region, that can be linked to suppressed shame about your sexuality. It can be disconnection to your feminine energy. It can be a poor relationship with your mum or the mother wound, and things like sexual abuse, rape can fall into that category as well. So there are these patterns and trends, but if you've had a pain in your left shoulder for years and years and years, it can just be some sort of grief or argument you're holding on to or shame. It doesn't have to follow that exact pattern. And I have really come to know and love somatic therapy for that exact reason. There's people who, this ties into the next point number 5, somatic therapy can be way more powerful than talk therapy for trauma. It's important to talk about some things at times, and I've seen people benefit from counseling and just talking through the symptoms. Even on a client call, people are like telling me their life story and they just feel so seen and heard, even though I'm not giving them direct advice. They're like, thank you for listening. And I've not done anything. I've just sat there and listened to what they're saying. And they've just not felt like they had someone to talk to. They don't want to sometimes talk to their family or loved ones. They get 5 minutes in a doctor's appointment and it's just not enough. But them getting it off their chest is part of the healing and can sometimes make a big shift. But if you've been in talk therapy, counseling, CBT for years and years and years, and you're still struggling with something, it could be that you look into somatic therapy instead. So this can involve things like breath work, even energy healing. Reiki can come into this too. And then there's very specific modalities by practitioners that don't really have a name. It's just locating the trauma in the body and releasing that through powerful meditations and hypnosis. And I've seen and heard of people having powerful shifts and transformations in one session of somatic healing versus 10 years in counseling. Number 6 is that we all have trauma to varying degrees, like I said in number 4, and we can't downplay what we've been through because someone else has had it worse off. People immediately think trauma are these big T traumas like abuse or rape, but it could be that you were bullied at school, even for a semester or a term or a year. It could be that your mum struggled with her mental health or just health issues in general, and you had to care for her. It's the way that it affects you. And as a kid, we don't understand things like we do now. So it might be something now that wouldn't affect you and you can logically understand it, but 5-year-old you could have been really affected. And sometimes you need to heal that inner child for you to release that emotion out of the body. Number 7 is that stress is inevitable, and it's all about how we react and respond to the situation. There's a lovely analogy or story that I like to share with clients. I definitely didn't come up with this one, but there's 2 siblings that grow up. One becomes a struggling alcoholic. The other is completely sober and is doing really well for himself. And they both said it's because of the dad's drinking problem. So they grew up in the same household, and one of them took what the dad went through and followed in his footsteps and blamed his dad, or was really affected by that. And the other one saw what happened to his dad and thought, I'm going to do the exact opposite. I'm not going to touch any alcohol, and I'm going to do really well for myself, and use that as motivation to thrive. So it's all about how we respond and react. It could be that you see public speaking as your worst nightmare and you completely freak out at the thought of even doing so, versus someone else, it's their passion in life, they thrive doing that. So it's the same thing, it's the same scenario, it's about how your body interprets and responds that's the most important thing. So just trying to catch our triggers and try to see our triggers as an opportunity to grow. This has been really powerful, and it's not always the most comfortable, it's not always the most easy, but it can be really healing. So if you are currently in the headspace of just looking for the next diet or supplement to help you, maybe start looking at your emotional triggers, and when someone upsets you, like, why, looking deeper, why is that the case? What can I learn from this? How does this reflect or look similar to something that happened in childhood? And exploring that a little bit more. Sometimes you need a practitioner to help you do so, because we can't always see our own shadows, but it can be powerful healing. Number 8, a regulated nervous system is the real flex and the real goal in life, for me at least. Learning to master your emotions will support your physical health on so many levels, and it will just be an ongoing skill. It's not like you master it and then it's great forever. You have to keep working on it, because there's so many things in life that insult the nervous system and can disrupt it. But the body can only heal in the parasympathetic state. So working to get into that state majority of the time, only being in the sympathetic dominant state when needed, like exercise and times of stress, or time between meals where we're fasting a little bit and need to tap into the blood sugar. These are all natural times that we should be a little bit stressed, but the rest of the time we should be in the default, the parasympathetic nervous system state. So if you can regulate your nervous system, you will find everything else in life, but in your healing journey, a lot more easy. Number 9, stress is more than just mental and emotional stress. It can be structural, something like your posture. It can be chemical, like a toxin exposure or a blood sugar imbalance. Stress can be physical, like an injury or gut infection. And you might be really happy with your life. You might not think that you're highly stressed because you earn good money, you have a loving family and support system. But if you are sleep deprived, or you have a lot of inflammation in your body, you can still be stressed. So when we talk about stress with my clients, I don't just ask them, are you stressed? I talk deeper about these things, and I help them to determine whether or not they are actually stressed. So it's more of a spectrum, and it's like an umbrella term for a lot of different things. I wish I knew that definitely a few years ago, because when I was struggling with chronic illness in my early 20s, I actually wasn't stressed other than with my symptoms, because I just wanted to live my life and go out with friends and not have acne anymore. But with my work, and I was living at home, I didn't have a mortgage or any bills or anything to pay really, I was still stressed because of physical imbalances that were going on. Number 10, your breath is one of the most important things to get you into that relaxed parasympathetic state and support your healing. The ideal is nose breathing. That's how we're designed to breathe. But a lot of people now, because of modern day adaptations, are mouth breathers. And this is contributing to a lot of health issues. Even the structure of our face shape over time starts to become more narrow, and that structural change, that structural stress, again, can contribute to a lot of health issues. There's a really good book, Breath by James Nestor, if you want to learn more about this. But things like mouth taping at night, checking in with your breath throughout the day to make sure that you're not breathing shallowly into your chest, you're slowing down, you're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths into the stomach, exhaling out a little bit longer than your inhale is also really powerful to calm the nervous system. But learning about the breath and even getting into breath work the past 6 months has been really amazing and has made me love it, really. I was a little bit scared of it for a while because I tried some more intense breath work years ago and I just don't think it was right for me at the time, and it was straight into quite activating breath, and with my dizziness and low blood pressure I just felt really stressed and didn't really understand that it's normal to feel a bit dizzy. I thought it was just me having a bit of a bad reaction. But I have done several breathwork sessions now at a local place. To me, the company I think is called 9D Breathwork, or just if you search 9D Breathwork, you're in the UK. I'm sure there's more than just my teacher, but I go to Transcend Studios and it's a woman called Nicola Gibson or Gibson. She is amazing and it's such a powerful experience. I have done some shorter ones that she does on a Sunday, but then she has these big 2-hour breathwork sessions every month, and the level, the other dimension that I was on, it was just absolutely insane. I was crying, I was like grinning and smiling uncontrollably. She made a scream at one point and I let it completely out and felt amazing. I can't even describe the transformation. I've booked in again actually in October with my friend, so I can't wait for that. But trying things, this is like a bonus one, but trying things that maybe you've tried before, but giving it another chance because your body's in a completely different state now. Number 11, oral health imbalances can be connected to a range of health issues like fertility, struggles, cardiovascular disease, and you might be completely asymptomatic. So you might have no symptoms in the mouth, but other symptoms in the rest of the body, which could be stemming from the mouth. Metal fillings, root canals, having adult teeth removed can all be potentially holding your health back. So seeing a biological holistic dentist can help to explore this a little bit more. My top recommendation would be Dr. Seb up in Huddersfield or Yorkshire area. He's one of the best in the UK. There's quite a few in London as well. But yeah, I was shocked when I was learning about oral health because we think it's so separate to everything else. Even a lot of conventionally trained dentists don't know this stuff, but the holistic biological ones really do, and they know the importance of proper treatment. And with fillings, we want to avoid the metal fillings. I think those are being phased out anyway, which is good, but even some really like random things like having a tooth removed or having a root canal in a certain tooth. If you search the, what is it called? Like the energy tooth connection or the meridian tooth connection, maybe that would be better on Google. You can see that there's actually certain teeth linked with certain body areas. And I think it's the wisdom teeth at the back. I'm not sure if it's top or bottom set, but that can be very linked to the breast. So people with breast cancer often have issues with the wisdom teeth, having them removed, having infections in the area. So not my area of expertise. It's something that I research quite a lot, but do your own research and something to consider if you're struggling with your health or you just want to optimize things as much as possible. Number 12, environmental toxins, including mold and pathogens like parasites, can be a common cause of chronic health issues. And it's something that's definitely impacted me and my clients over the years, but it does come back to the terrain of the body, not the microbe or the toxin. Strengthening up your body long-term to be resilient and not afraid of these things is very important, and something that I only realized in the past 5 years or so. When I first learned about mold, I was very fearful and I blamed everything on mold, and I completely forgot about all of the ways that I'd disrupted my health and treated myself badly in terms of eating and over exercising and drinking alcohol. So I just blamed everything on mold and started to become afraid of the home that I was in and my environment and bugs and microbes. I'm still not a fan of bugs and insects. Maybe something to still work on, but it comes back to that germ theory where it's not the virus that's the problem. Like with the example over the past few years, it's the host, it's the body that it's going into that often over responds or responds in a really dramatic way. The body isn't capable of repairing, and that's what causes a lot of the symptoms. So sometimes we do need to reduce the amount of toxins. If you have been exposed to mold or have parasite overgrowth, you do often need to knock that down using herbs and detox methods, but at the same time, you want to be strengthening the body too, so that long term, your own immune system can take over. That's what it's designed for. We're meant to be exposed to parasites and be out in nature and eating food from the soil that's packed and full of microbes, but our stomach acid should be strong, our immune system should be ready to detect and kill off what isn't serving us. But when we have been through stress and trauma and we're depleted and low energy, that isn't all happening. So that's where the bugs and everything can take over and start to cause more of an issue. Number 13, we live in a pretty toxic world, but if we can make our home environment as non-toxic and healthy as possible with things like water filters, clean food, relaxed space, it makes the world of difference, because it's what we're doing the majority of the time that matters most. It's like the 80-20 rule that you've probably heard about. If you do well 80% of the time, that's pretty great. And then the other 20% could be when you're at a friend's house, you're traveling, you're on holiday, you're eating at a restaurant that has non-organic food, or it's a moldy building, or they're using seed oil. You can't freak yourself out if the majority of the time you're doing pretty good. Number 14, food is medicine, but it's only one part of the health puzzle. I'd love to tell 20-year-old me that, who was down the rabbit hole of food restriction, thinking that that was going to heal me. Focus on real whole foods, minimally processed. I think personally, high quality animal protein is very healing, but so are plant foods. I'm not against them. I'm not one way or the other. I think if you focus on eating healthy and listening to your individual sensitivities, if you're having diarrhea every time you have nuts or eggs, listen to that. You don't want to just keep forcing yourself to eat it. But if you've got to the stage where you're not sure if you're reacting, or it's becoming more and more and more foods and it's just limiting too much, then the problem isn't the food, it's your body, it's your immune system, it's your gut, probably some sort of infection or pathogen in there. So working on that instead. You might want to have a temporary elimination. There's a therapeutic nature to elimination diets sometimes, but they should only be short term whilst you're working on the root cause. If you're eating these perfect organic balanced meals, but you're fearful, if you don't think you're going to heal, if you're isolated, if you have a parasite infection in your gut, it's not really going to be enough on its own. But it's still important to eat nutritious, healthy, good quality foods. Number 15 is that your needs are going to change. What works for you now might not work in a year's time or 10 years' time. So don't be too stuck on one thing, one way of eating and needing it to be the same all the time. Even during big life changes like pregnancy, postpartum, menopause for women, your needs are naturally going to change. You become a little bit more insulin resistant as you lose the protective hormones from the ovaries as you go into menopause. You're going to need more calories if you're breastfeeding. So don't get stuck on this is the way that I eat, because it's going to change inevitably. I just want to check, are you addressing the healing foundations? Not sure what I mean? Well, these are the important factors that I believe that you need to address in order to be in optimal health and overcome your stubborn health issues and symptoms, whether that's chronic digestive issues, acne, hair loss, period problems, weight gain, anxiety, fatigue. I could go on. Because I want as many of you as possible to have this life-changing information, I've bundled together 6 of my juiciest and info-packed masterclasses priced at just £111. Not only are you getting these recordings, which are between 60 and 90 minutes long each, on the following subjects: the power of the subconscious mind, stress, trauma, and the nervous system, supporting your female menstrual cycle, mastering your metabolism, optimizing sleep, gut health and detox. You're also going to receive my healthy groceries shopping list and my favorite non-toxic products guide, which are both usually reserved for my one-to-one clients. Whether you're brand new to the holistic healing world or you've been trying to work on things for a while but feel stuck, I can guarantee there's something within this content that will help you to understand your next steps and what you're missing. Sometimes it's something so foundational that's being overlooked. Get instant access to the Foundations bundle today for just £111 by clicking the link in the episode show notes, and I can't wait to hear about what you've learned. Grab your pen and paper to make notes and get started today. Number 16 is that you're not what you eat, you are what you absorb. The importance of gut health. If you have low stomach acid, if you have SIBO, bacterial overgrowths, malabsorption, really common problems, then you could be eating the best food in the world, spending hundreds of pounds even on supplements like I was at one point, and still nutrient deficient, not absorbing, and still sick. If you're eating in a stress state, not good. You need to start with that. Sometimes digestive enzymes can help bridge the gap while you work on those things. But yeah, it's more than what you eat. It's about what's going on in that microbiome of yours and that gut. Number 17 is that aspects of modern medicine are amazing. There's a time and a place for medications like antibiotics, surgeries, medical interventions. Love it, obsessed with it, so happy we have it in the modern world. But finding natural alternatives and not having pharmaceuticals as your first go-to is the way forward. And this is something that's going to serve me for the rest of my life. So as challenging as my health journey has been at times, I'm so grateful that I know what I do now, because it's going to serve me and my family for the rest of my life. So I definitely wouldn't go back and change things. I now have my natural first aid kits with homeopathy, natural antimicrobials, cold and flu herbal support. Like, I've had a bit of a tickle the past few days in my throat, and I've pretty much nipped it in the bud now. Whereas my boyfriend, his lasted about 5 days and he got pretty sick with it. I have just like nipped it in the bud because I know exactly what to do. But if at any stage I really needed antibiotics or I needed a surgery or anything like that, I would do it, but I would always look for something natural to at least try beforehand. Number 18, coming off the birth control pill was one of the best decisions that I ever made. I didn't know that the period that you have on the pill isn't a real period, it's just a withdrawal bleed from the medication. The way that the pills and these hormonal birth controls work is by suppressing ovulation, which is the superstar of the cycle. It is a key sign and creator of health. It helps us to produce progesterone, which is the women's hormone that gives us so many healing benefits as women. It depletes key nutrients that are essential for hormone health, ironically. And coming off the pill far in advance like I did has just saved future me a ton of stress, because if I would have stayed on the pill, come off it at 35, mid-30s, maybe when I wanted kids, I would have probably had missing periods for years, because it took me 2 years to get my period back before. So if I would have been on it for an extra 10 years, it would have taken much longer. And then I would have felt a huge time pressure to get things in check before I fell pregnant. And for everyone, I would say 1 or 2 years off birth control before you conceive is ideal. Sometimes it doesn't work like that. I know we have these women who stop the pill and fall pregnant very next month and have healthy babies. That's perfect. But we do know that it can take time for your brain and your ovaries to fully sync up again, especially if you started the pill in your teenage years before that connection was fully solidified to begin with. And the nutrient deficiencies it can cause can take months to restore. And we just have other things against us in this modern world. So we just want to do the best that we can. And if you do have the luxury of giving yourself a year or two before you conceive, that would be perfect, in my opinion. Number 19, as women, we can only get pregnant during ovulation. This is something that I didn't know. I thought we could get pregnant any day of the cycle. Like we're told at school, it's like on Mean Girls, don't have sex, you'll get pregnant and you'll die. It's just so fearful. And we just think that we're these like really fertile machines. And then when people struggle with infertility and fertility struggles, they feel so broken because they don't sometimes know when to time intercourse correctly. They're having sex when they're not even ovulating. And then they're getting stressed, and then they're sent down all of these fertility routes when they actually just needed to understand their body a little bit more. So the actual science is that our fertile window spans around 6 days total around ovulation, which is usually mid-cycle for a woman, but the date can change based on how long your cycle is. It's individual for every woman. The egg that we release that gets fertilized is only present for about 24 to 48 hours. But the thing is, sperm can live within the cervix for a few days before that, meaning that it extends the whole fertile window. So no, we can't get pregnant every day of the month, and we don't need to take a pill every single day to avoid pregnancy. We can use tools like the fertility awareness method to understand our bodies when we're ovulating, and then we would just use protection during that time. And pretty simple, really. Number 20 is that healing takes time. I would say an average of 1 month of healing is necessary for every year that you were sick. I feel like that's a nice expected range. It might be quicker, it might be longer, but that's a nice average. So for example, if you were sick for 5 years, you're going to need at least 5 months of work on your health. And that's kind of going all in. It's not just taking one supplement. It's really working on your health holistically, about 5 months for that person. It's not a quick fix. When you're working on the root causes, it takes time. It's not like taking a medication that suppresses your symptoms within a few weeks. It's really healing layers of illnesses and infections and imbalances in the body. Things can heal in certain orders. Sometimes they heal from the inside out. So if you have skin issues, that can be one of the last things to improve. They could heal from the top down. This is the naturopathic healing principles. It might also be that your most recent symptoms clear first, and then the longer standing, more stubborn ones clear last. Expect the unexpected, but give yourself time, patience, and consistency. That is the secret that a lot of people are missing. Number 21, we're getting more into the energetic, spiritual side of things, but I am really into this sort of work too. Number 21 is what you focus on expands. This is one of the universal laws. It falls under the law of attraction category. On an energetic level, this is in terms of frequency. If you're emitting a certain frequency, that's going to draw and attract more of that into your life. Imagine a radio station. If you tune into 102.0, you're going to get some sort of like country music. Whereas if you do 105.2, you might get rock music. So it's whatever frequency you're on, you're going to attract more of that into your life. So if you are living in gratitude and happiness and love and abundance, you're going to attract more of that in. On a sciencey level, if you're not into the energetics, I'm not going to argue with you because it's just what I believe and I know to be true for myself. But if you want more of a science-backed explanation to that, it comes down to the reticular activating system of the brain, a part of the brain that seeks out similarities and it looks for patterns. And a lot of people have had the example of when you're looking for a new car or a new t-shirt or pair of shoes or something, and then you start seeing it everywhere. It's because your RAS system in the brain is looking for that information. We filter a lot of things that we don't feel is relevant. So when our brain knows that something's important to us, it's going to look for more of that. It's like when you think you wake up on the wrong side of the bed and then everything seems to go wrong for the rest of the day. You stand on a plug, you spill your drink, you get stuck in traffic, then you have an argument with your partner and your boss fires you, and then you're like, it's just a really bad day, you're in victim mode, everything's happening to me, whereas it's just that you're focusing on what is going wrong. I can guarantee if you were stuck in traffic, you've been having a really bad day, but then you get a phone call that you've won the lottery, you've won £10 million, you're going to be in the best mood ever. So things can change in an instant, and it's just about where your energy, your attention is flowing. Number 22, everything happens for you, not to you. And also, bonus point, at the exact right time it's meant to happen. I am so grateful for my health issues, even though at the time I felt like it was the worst thing in the world. It actually worked out perfectly for me. It put me on my path. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life before this. I then realized this is my passion. I want to become a practitioner. I didn't even know this was a job or an option for a career path. I've always been interested in healthcare and helping people, but I just thought the only option was a dietitian or personal trainer or something, and that never really resonated. And if I would have healed the first year like I hoped, and I figured everything out, and it didn't take 10 years like it actually did, I wouldn't be half the practitioner that I am now. I had to learn so much more through that struggle and through researching and finding things out for myself, healing one issue and then something else popped up. I had to go through that because I needed to be like the guinea pig and be the one to support my clients when they're going through the exact same thing. If I would have healed in a year, I would have maybe not even done this as a career because it didn't become this like deep passion and deep obsession of mine. So yeah, trust the process, trust that it's all happening for you, not to you. That simple reframe, I think, just really calms the nervous system as well. Number 23 is to listen to your intuition and your gut feeling about things. It's always right. So when you're drawn to something, when your body gives you that red flag with a person or a situation, you're walking down the street and you're like, it feels a bit creepy. You want to listen to that because that is your internal compass and your internal guidance system supporting you. And sometimes you don't know in the moment why you didn't want to go to this place or why you don't really like that person, but in time you'll probably figure it out. Number 24 is that it's all about the journey, not the destination. Try not to lose yourself on the healing journey and just wishing your life away. Like, I'll be happy when this happens, or when my skin clears up, I'm going to do this, because time is going to pass by regardless. And you don't ever know when you're going to heal. So it could be a month's time, it could be a year's time. And you want to try and be present and enjoy the moment as it is. Try to find things to be grateful for in the moment. Try to still enjoy. For me, like my early 20s, I did achieve some things. Like, I set up my business, I went to college, studied, but just day to day, I was really unhappy and I didn't feel fulfilled. And that was a good 5 years of my life that hasn't been wasted, but I just could have enjoyed it a lot more because I was going to get here eventually. I was going to heal eventually, but that's a big chunk of my life that I wasn't really happy in. If it's in terms of business even, I have to catch myself with this, like, what's next? Because it's just my personality and I love what I do. But if you're chasing the next accolade, achievement, and wishing your life away, you're not going to be happy. And you'll find that it's all about the journey, who you're becoming in the process, not the end destination. So try and realize that now, until otherwise, yeah, it's going to be that you have not wasted life, but I just don't want you to regret things like I did. Number 25, gratitude will change your life. I'm not exaggerating this. We can find new things every day to be grateful for. There's always something. Even on the worst days, we can express gratitude for the fact that we can walk, or woke up this morning, or the sunny weather, or a cute dog that we saw. This will tie into the reticular activating system and the law of attraction, where we already feel grateful and we're excited for when we do regain our health or achieve XYZ. And that will actually speed up the process because we are in that positive frequency. Instead of jealousy, I'll be happy when, anxiety, fear, that is just going to attract more of that into our reality. Number 26 is that you're an average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So look at your friendship circle, or if you don't have one currently, find and make one. I have made most of my current friends in adulthood. So it's not too late if you've lost touch with old friends. We can outgrow people, that's okay. It's nothing to feel bad about. You're not going to be friends with everyone that you were in high school, and it doesn't mean that they're a bad person or you're a bad person. We just change and we move away and we have different interests as we grow up. So look and think about who you're spending the most time with at the moment, and is that something that's going to be supportive to you long term. 27, do more of what brings you joy. Follow your happy, as long as it's not harming anyone. We all need to do us. We need to do what makes us feel good. Even if people think you're weird, even if you're the only one who's done this before, it doesn't matter. You don't need to follow the crowd. You need to listen to that gut, follow your joy, and you'll do great in life. Number 28, kind of another combination one. but what's meant for you will never pass you, and the inner dreams and desires that we have are meant for us. We're all different, because one person's dream life could be to be an author and live in the middle of nowhere and spend their days writing. Someone else might want to be a famous musician and be on stages and travel the world. Someone else might want to be a stay-at-home mum and have a little vegetable patch in the garden and raise chickens and sheep. Go after your dreams, because what's on your heart is meant for you. That is like your future self, and you want to follow that. So take the steps, take the baby steps, listen to those little intuitive nudges and downloads that you get, and go after it. Life's too short. Number 29, don't watch the news. You're welcome. Seriously though, pay attention to who you're surrounding yourself with in general, but also the books that you're reading, music, podcasts, environment, where you're living, where you're hanging out, where you're spending your time. This all affects our frequency, our vibration, and it's similar to that friendship thing. We just become an average of like all of those different things. So if we're surrounding ourselves in toxic environments, or our friendship circles are really dramatic and they're always gossiping, they're always negative, you don't feel good after an interaction with someone, you're constantly listening to crime and horror things, you are listening to music that's really like negative and depressing, that will influence you, no doubt. And then number 30, getting a dog fixes everything. I had to end on like 2 little jokey ones, but they're so true. Unless you hate dogs, which if that's the case, we can't be friends, I'm sorry. Getting my little dog Norman was one of the best decisions ever. And I had the desire to have a dog for years, even since I was a child, and I've had dogs, but my mum was always allergic, and she just didn't like getting too attached to them and all of that. But I was told, even after I moved and had my own place, and I'm an adult now, but people said don't get a dog. And I didn't listen, and I'm so glad that I didn't, because he is the best and he makes my life so much happier, and it's one of the best things that I can do for my nervous system as well. So it's actually given me a health benefit, a lovely dopamine and oxytocin boost. So I hope you enjoyed my 30 things that I have learned at 30, and maybe I'll do another one of these next year or in 10 years. Who knows if I'm still doing the podcast then? Who knows what's to come from this next decade? I did a little birthday reflections episode last week, so if you've not listened to that one, I would recommend. It's about how I'm feeling about getting older and what's my plan for the next 10 years. Definitely check that out, and I will see you back here next week for another episode. Hope you have a lovely week, whatever you're up to. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, I would love for you to leave me a rating and review on your podcast app, as this helps to support the show and it allows it to reach more people with this valuable information. Come and say hi over on Instagram. I'm at Viva Natural Health. And if you haven't already, check out my website, vivanaturalhealth.co.uk, for tons more free resources and to discover how I could support you further. I currently offer one-on-one consultation packages if you want my top level support, then more affordable group programs and self-paced online courses. So there really is something for everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you back here next week for another episode.